So, it's one thing to have left a big gap between chapters. It is another thing to not have finished the chapter I was on. So, before I leave another giant gap in readings, I at least want to finish chapter 7, which is where we left off. So, Steve was at his shrink, Dr. Brown's house. We learned that he used to have some OCD behaviors, that he had an imaginary friend named Henry, that he had that friend until 5th grade, that he still has OCD habits. That's like the only drinking out of certain water fountains and washing his hands excessively between classes and the germophobia, things like that. And then the doctor asked him if he wanted to come back later, and he said, sure, why not? And we learned the baby's name. He'd only addressed it as baby, and the doctor specifically said, this is the end of their session. He had asked, does the queen have a name? No, she never told me. It never came up. Does the baby have a name? Who? The baby, your new brother. Oh, hold on. Your new brother? You never said his name. Oh, right. Theodore. Theo, we call him. Good name. Would you like to talk again in a couple of weeks? Sure, I said. And then I said there was a little page break, which meant we were going to go into some new thing. We were leaving the doctor's office. And I had to stop because my phone was dying. Now, Chapter 7, Part 2. I'll try to be back relatively soon with 8, but at least let's finish Chapter 7. Kitty Cat heard me. Kitty Cat's coming up here to get read too. 3 days went by without me... 3 days went by without me dreaming about them, and I felt hopeful. Maybe they were gone for good. On Monday, Dad went back to work and Mom went to the hospital by herself to talk to the specialist about an upcoming surgery. Vanessa was over for the afternoon watching Nicole and the baby. We were in the living room and we'd just given the baby his bottle. Oh, I think I read this. Do you want to hold him, Vanessa asked as she burped him. Okay, yeah, wait, we did read this. Hold on. He's all busted up inside. That was a very important conversation too. Well, a touching conversation between the babysitter and Steve, because he's like, he's all busted up inside. And she says, do you remember? She says, we're all busted up inside. Eventually, something's going to happen. We don't know when. Could happen anytime. But until then, we still treat things like we love them. Treat ourselves like we love ourselves. Treat the baby like we love it. So anyway. The babysitter needs a kidney transplant one day, blah, 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 blah. I don't think that's going to be relevant to the story, just for that conversation. We learned that the wasp disappeared when she had her teacher looked at it, like it melted away. There was nothing inside of it. There's where we ended. The wasps weren't normal. They weren't filled with normal stuff. Page break again. After dinner that night, the baby wasn't interested in his bottle, and his little body seemed really floppy. Maybe it's the heat, Dad said. It was blistering outside, and even with the air conditioning on, it wasn't much better inside. He's not right, Mom said, and she seemed really worried. So Dad drove them to the emergency. Nicole and I watched television, and I kept letting Nicole have more and more cookies until Dad came back. They're keeping him overnight, he said. Mom's going to stay. Is he okay? I asked. They think it might just be a virus. Like a cold? Nicole said, watching television. Dad ruffled her hair. Right. After Nicole was in bed, I asked Dad, "Is it serious?" "They're not worried about the virus too much. It's just he needs to be strong for his heart surgery, and he needs it soon. And they don't want to take any risk until he's as healthy as he can be. We just have to hope for the best." "Okay," I said. He hugged me goodnight and told me to get some sleep, told me that he loved me. As I was coming back from the bathroom, I glimpsed him, sitting on the edge of the bed in his underwear, taking his socks off. His head was lowered, and I could see the patch where he was losing hair. He got one sock off and massaged his toes, and then just seemed to forget about the other sock. And then he wasn't massaging his toes anymore. He was just sitting there, not looking at anything at all. In bed, I did my lists. I said my sort of prayers twice because I was worried that I might have missed someone. Without Mom and the baby, the house just felt lonelier. Is it a sad picture? This is his view from the hallway. And there's this one sock in the floor and him just sitting, staring. I pulled the covers up over my head and wrapped myself up like a cocoon. Break. Inside, Surrett had something to say. Inside the nest, it was dimmer than ever, but my focus wasn't the clearest yet. Suspended from the ceiling was a big gauzy bundle of white that looked like silk and spit and cobwebs. It took up nearly half the nest, and it gave off fierce heat. When I peered down from my little ledge, had it been built just for me? I could see just outside the circular exit a swarm of worker wasps hovering and beating their wings, angling cool air inside the nest. I felt its breeze against my face. "The baby's pupating." It was the Queen, her antenna grazing me. I hadn't even heard her coming. Her wings were noiseless. "He's not a larva anymore," she said. "The baby's eaten all he needs for now. He's spun a little nest around himself, and he's just concentrating on growing." I tried to peer inside, but the baby was sealed off in this white cocoon. I thought of myself in bed, wrapped in my blankets. "I didn't know if you would come back," the Queen said to me. "I don't seem to have a choice." "Of course you do, my dear. Of course you do. You want to come. That's why you're here." I wasn't sure about all this, but it felt differently now. If Dr. Brown was right, then this was just a dream. It felt real, but it wasn't. It had no power over me. "So, what happens next?" I asked. "Well, the baby will grow, and then he will be ready." "To replace our baby." "Goodness me, you're doing it again. This right here is your baby." "Our baby needs a heart operation." "He's in the hospital right now," said the Queen. "I know, he'll be home in the morning. Your mother will be very sad indeed. She'll try to be brave, though. They'll have told her they can't perform the surgery until the baby's stronger. And just very crude surgery it is, if you don't mind me saying. They do their best, don't get me wrong. Best intentions and all that, but it's so primitive. Be loving to your mother, because the fact is the baby won't ever be strong enough to have the operation. You don't know that, I said, and I had to remind myself that none of this was real. He doesn't have long. The doctors will be vague. They'll say, "Oh, he's stronger." And maybe they'll even believe it themselves. You're sure? It's very sad, but he doesn't have long. How are the others bearing up? I felt like my head was being crammed full of crumpled bits of paper, and I was trying to unfold them all and read the answers, but the printing was too small and the paper too torn. Nothing made sense. I muttered, "Nicole doesn't understand." Merciful. And your father? I thought of him sitting on the edge of the bed. I don't think I've ever seen him sadder. And you? What about me? Who's taking care of you? I'm fine. Who's looking after you? Who has a tender word for you? They do. They're just tired. Of course. They must be shell-shocked, shattered. Every parent's worst nightmare. Defiantly, I said, "But you're here to make everything right, right? To make a healthy baby?" Of course. But we couldn't do it without you. What do you mean? When I stung you, it was so I could talk to you, yes. But there was another reason. We took little bits of you, a little bit of your DNA, just to help us get the baby started. It's not just any old baby, remember? It's your family's. So, the baby's gonna be a twin? Oh, goodness gracious, no. We'll take care of all those little things once we have the raw ingredients. But we still need your help in another way. How? We're clever, but we can't do everything. There's a point where we'll need you. Why don't you just talk to my parents about it? Out of the question. They're far too busy. Adult minds so cluttered. None of this is up to me. I was forgetting myself again. This isn't real. This isn't real. Any of it. No, she said. You're more important than you think. I couldn't help being curious. What would I do anyway? Right now, you don't have to do a single thing. So, when? We'll let you know. Right now, all you have to do is say yes. This was new. So far in my dreams, all I'd been doing was listening and watching, like dream TV, but now I was being asked to do something. Have you never noticed? You never call the baby Theodore, the Queen said. How do you know his name? I know everything you know. You never once called the baby Theo. Why do you think that is? I struggled. You're not ready to give him a name because you don't know if he'll live. It's a bit like admitting he's not a real person. And he's not, is he? Not yet. Not until we're done. I think you know what that means. What does it mean? That you're ready to say yes. But what am I saying yes to? Yes is a very powerful word. It's like opening a door. It's like flame. Like fanning a flame. It's the most powerful word in the world. The Queen was maddening. The way she talked, the way she poured words out of her, and they spiraled around. But you're still not telling me yes means yes, and everything that it entails. We'll finish the baby, and you'll go into his room one morning, and there he'll be. And he'll be healthy, and it'll be like the old one was never there. As if my parents would notice. No one will ask questions, the Queen said. You think they'll care when they'll discover he's healthy? You actually think they'll wonder, how can he be so healthy all of a sudden? How worrying, how suspicious. They'll just be grateful. And it will be Theo, just healthy. And before you know it, you'll forget all about that crappy, broken baby. I felt like I'd been slapped. Those were the first unkind words that she'd spoken. That's mean, I said. Sometimes the truth hurts. Now, just think how happy your parents will be. They'll be so happy, and everything will go back to the way it was. Happy, happy, happy. Happy. I suddenly caught the smell of fresh grass again, felt a cool summer breeze. That's right. All you have to do is say yes. Yes to the end of suffering. suffering and heartbreak. Yes, to making your mother and father happy. Yes, to making life better for everyone. I thought, it's just a dream anyway. I thought, it has no power over me. I thought, why not? Fine, I whispered. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. Yes, I muttered. More clearly, please. Yes, then. Yes, yes! I was aware of a vast welling sorrow in my chest, like a huge breath that I didn't need, that I didn't know I needed to exhale. I was crying. There now, said the Queen kindly, and her antenna brushed away my tears. There, there. Let all that sadness out. You've done the right thing. Stephen, such a brave, wonderful boy. Thank you. And I cried, and I woke, and my blankets were all tangled up around me, and I was breathing hard, and the blankets were smothering me. I pulled my head clear, and I sucked in air. For a moment, I was confused, and I couldn't remember what happened. And when I did, I felt sick to my stomach. I'd done something terrible. I said yes. I had agreed to help the wasp replace the baby. Breathing deep, I tried to calm myself. Dr. Brown said that dreams had very powerful effect, but they weren't real experiences. Right now, that didn't make me feel one bit better. I whispered to myself, I didn't mean it. Like, I was hoping that someone would reply, like someone would forgive me. I didn't mean it, I said again. I didn't mean it, I said, fiercely, with my teeth pushed against the pillow. Uh-oh. Now he's done it. And he knows he's done it. Chapter 8. And that is where we're going to stop. We'll do one of those next time on Lost moments, at the end of an episode where they show you what's going to happen next time on this show. That's a big spoiler. Hold on, I don't want to read that one. Okay, this is okay. This is not as revealing. That night, Mom and Dad had closed their doors all the way, but I could still hear them talking. And I think that they were talking about me, because I heard Dr. Brown's name. And then they were discussing the baby. When I crept down the hall to hear them better, Mom was telling a dream that she had had the night before. Is he not the only one getting dreams? Could Mom be having these dreams too? That's my guess. Actually, it's just one of those could this be things? I don't want to tell you my guess. And no, I have not read ahead, so I don't know. I'm for real stressed out for Stephen. Anyway, I hope you're enjoying The Nest. from the author of The Boundless. Kenneth was his name. Kenneth Oppel. O-P-P-E-L, excuse me.